Be laying in bed at night trying to solve a problem. I got a piece and I got to put it in a box.
As you're developing these ideas, you also start thinking about how they will exist, in the real world.
And all of a sudden, it's there.
Fusion 360 came along and pretty much fallen in love with it.
You don't need to be a surfacing whiz.
It allows me the control that I need to get the surfaces that are in my head. It's combining engineering and design in a way that no one has ever done before.
Hey everybody, welcome to Engineer vs. Designer.
The podcast.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Josh.
And today we have a special edition of Engineer vs. Designer. We're speaking with Prabhakar from Autodesk and Hardy from GrabCAD,
who just announced a new integration between Autodesk Fusion 360 product launched Tuesday and GrabCAD's Workbench collaboration platform.
And this is... I don't know, Josh. This is pretty cool stuff.
I'm interested to find out how it works, but I'm curious about how the two are working together.
Well, they're so. To give you just a spoiler alert here. I mean, we're going to talk about this with Hardy and Prabhakar, but it's basically you're able to run Fusion 360 from within GrabCAD without downloading anything, as far as I can tell. Right?
Yeah. That's the way I'm understanding it. We'll find out more from them right now.
Okay, Prabhakar and Hardy, it is so good to have you guys on today. Autodesk is launching Fusion 360 today, the first cloud-based CAD package. And GrabCAD is teaming up with Autodesk to expand their community with features built into the Fusion 360 platform. This all sounds really cool, I think. Tell us about that. What is this all about?
I think if you step back and look at it, especially with the change in terms of the business model, how social is becoming such an integral part of people's work ethics and process. Designers and users pick various communities, various places in which they get together, have discussions, work together, and solve problems. Right. So what GrabCAD has done is just kind of built a community around mechanical and engineers and designers, who work together to solve problems, right? So what Autodesk is really good at is providing these great tools to help solve the problems. So it became a nice, complementary partnership where GrabCAD comes with that community access and Autodesk brings the tools to integrate those two in a very seamless way so that a group of people or even an individual can start with a design or take an existing design and use the tools from Autodesk to collaboratively work with this group. Okay? And we're going to start that with both AutoCAD 360 and Fusion 360. So imagine a situation where you have let's say, Adam, you and Josh are working on a project, and then, you launched a little product, and then you got some customer feedback. You need to pull an expert, let's say you're going to pull Hardy in to help you with it, okay? So you might have your drawings, you might have your models, and collaboratively in GrabCAD's Workbench, you're going to, provide some comments to Hardy saying, Hardy, we have this particular problem, can you help with that? And Hardy can collaboratively get that same information, use Fusion 360 to be able to make the changes for you, to show how the design should work. You can use AutoCAD 360. If you have drawings, you can use AutoCAD 360 to show the markups, the edits, and then show how the production should be done with the drawing. It's a very integrated collaborative work so you can accomplish both with GrabCAD as a community and a collaboration workspace, and Autodesk tools with Fusion 360 and AutoCAD 360.
So AutoCAD 360 and Fusion 360 are tied in directly with GrabCAD. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the big news. So from the AutoCAD 360 2D products runs inside the GrabCAD without user needed to leave, and the same is with Fusion 360, the 3D authoring tool runs inside the GrabCAD, and that's why I said earlier it's so much more than just an integration. It's really one user experience.
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm going to throw a wrench in the works here. I don't understand. Please explain. I'm sure other people are going to have this question as well. I thought that the whole point of Fusion 360 and the entire 360 line of products from Autodesk was that they are cloud enabled. That's the whole point of them, right? You go to Fusion 360, you're working online, you can collaborate in real time with other people, blah, blah, blah. That's the whole pitch for 360. Why do you need GrabCAD? I'm sorry.
So you have to think, when you look at the users, right, users are going to, choose communities, and then users are going to be in multiple communities, right? The same user is part of the, Autodesk ecosystem working on certain tools, and when he works on other projects, he works with the GrabCAD community. Okay? So we are bringing the tools and experience to where the user is and where the user wants to work. Okay? It's very different from what you're used to in the old, with the CAD system in the past, where you get locked into something. That's all. And that's the whole point about the heterogeneous work, the heterogeneous mindset, which, I know Carl and Buzz have talked to you guys about before. We want to go where the users are, where they work.
That's actually really exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Adam from our side, just a little bit to give, Prabhakar gave a great overview, but from our side, I think how we ended up where we are, which I think is great. But so GrabCAD has been always very user and customer centric company, and we started the community with the main idea of helping people to share the design. And our customers, or the community, came to us and said, "Hey, why do we need to use those FTP tools and Dropbox? What doesn't really work well for CAD and engineering collaboration?" So we built Workbench, and that helps people to collaborate. And once we put that out, engineers came to us and said, "Hey, but why do we need to go out from Workbench? Why do we need to download those FTP files, download the drawing files, download the CAD files, and then open it in my desktop? I don't want to leave Workbench anymore." And at the same time, Autodesk was pushing really hard with their cloud offerings. It made total sense to integrate those two platforms in a very good user experience that the users will not need to leave GrabCAD, and they can get all the design work done by using Autodesk authoring tools. So that's how, from our view, that's how we got together with Autodesk, and that's why we are so excited about is that the users actually asked that, not in a direct way, but they didn't ask, "Hey, bring me a CAD tool to Workbench." They said, "I don't want to leave." And
Right.
and that's how the story happened.
So now it's now, if I'm not mistaken, Autodesk 360 has a fee, a subscription fee per month, and also Workbench has a monthly fee. So how is that working together, and how much is Fusion 360 going to cost, and how is that going to work in with the Workbench?
Yeah. So Workbench is a freemium product. So if you are a small customer or an industrial designer or a student, you can use the free product, and you don't need to pay. And then you have a possibility to buy Autodesk products. You can buy Fusion 360, or you can buy AutoCAD 360, or you can use the premium product of AutoCAD 360. So what we think is that customer wants to pay in one place. They don't want to go in other places. So customer will pay GrabCAD, and we have an agreement with Autodesk on the revenue share. And if there are bigger customers who are paying for Workbench and they use that as a collaboration tool, they can decide that, hey, in some point of time, maybe we should buy 5 seats of Fusion for our engineers. So they pay for Workbench and Fusion authoring tools, and the pricing will be exactly the same in GrabCAD as it is in the Autodesk own platform. So
and how would data sharing work in that scenario? If you have some people working in 360, you have some people working in GrabCAD. Can you get data between those two places easily?
Prabhakar, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, let me do it. So the data, we want to be very clear about its customer's data. Okay, customer chooses what to do with this data, not you GrabCAD or A360 data. Right? I want to be very clear about that. So, so as long as the customer is working with GrabCAD and using GrabCAD as is, data storage and then collaboration, and the data will live in GrabCAD. It won't come to A360. As long as the customer is working in Fusion, A360, AutoCAD A360 ecosystems, and that's where he wants the data, that's where the data will be. Okay? It's up to the customer to decide how to bring the data, but the data will be in the place he wants to be in, and it'll, if it's GrabCAD, if it's A360, it's A360.
Okay. But again, back to my question, you can't go back and forth between the two very easily.
Not at this point, unless explicitly the customer takes the data and moves it.
Okay. But the customer could do that.
Yeah, if he wants to, absolutely, it's his data.
Excellent. Okay, well, so we're speaking in the abstract so far. Let's use a more concrete example, I guess. So let's say we're designing, you guys use headphones as an example, so we'll use that. Let's say we're designing some over-ear headphones like you guys have on the site. And let's say, I've been using, so for example, in my studio, I use SolidWorks, desktop software. And I've got a bunch of assets there, and I'm ready to start working on this, and I want to do it more collaboratively. I want to try to use Fusion 360 and Workbench together. I'm going to have a lower cost of entry there as opposed to traditional desktop software, but what else is going to be different? What's this process going to be like, and how is that going to be different from what I'm used to as a desktop CAD user?
So let's take the same example. I gave a different example earlier. So your headphone stuff, and you want to do a new, earpiece, okay, to help with the headphone. All right, and then you want to collaborate. So you put the data in GrabCAD, and you ask Hardy to engage in the design process. Okay, so you might put some notes in there, so which is a collaborative piece. You don't have it in a desktop, right? You put a collaborative piece. You put out a set of notes in it saying, I really want this thing to change here, and all those things. And within that experience, Hardy would just say, all right, let me edit that existing model in Fusion, okay? And he would make all the changes, and then in the different versions, and then all the stuff gets captured, in the GrabCAD system, because you're using GrabCAD as your collaboration and data storage. And all the version information will go right back into it, and then you can comment on it, and he can make changes. So it's a very, interactive as well as a collaborative workflow by which you're making those designs.
But what if Hardy is working in Fusion 360, but I'm working in SolidWorks, and we're both working with Workbench? Can those play nicely together?
Let's assume we have three parties. You are using SolidWorks, Prabhakar is using Autodesk Fusion 360, and I'm a customer. I'm a non-CAD user. One of you is engineer, one is industrial designer. So if you make a change, what Workbench does, it makes super easy for you to share the CAD data. So you share a CAD data through the Workbench. It's super easy to do that. You don't need to email things around or to FTP. So what I can do, maybe I'm a customer, I can view the change, I can view the stuff that you created inside SolidWorks via mobile browser or a web interface. And I don't need to download anything. I can view what you did. I can maybe say, hey, make a couple of changes here. I would like to, have some rounded corners. And maybe Prabhakar needs to make those changes. What Prabhakar can do is he can go to that uploaded SolidWorks file. He can click Edit, and inside Workbench, he launches Fusion. And this SolidWorks CAD data is inside Fusion. Prabhakar makes changes in Fusion, press save, closes the window, and all these changes are updated back to Workbench. And I can again view it on mobile phone. So what it does, it eliminates all these translation processes, all these funky FTP and Dropbox file transfers, and I as a customer can view the data very, very nicely. So we believe that the process is much more convenient. Everyone are working from the latest data, so that's kind of the core of the whole flow.
That is really cool.
Yeah, we are super excited about this stuff. So.
We are. And then as we look ahead, with AutoCAD 360, you'll be able to create those drawings. If you have drawings now, you can, do all the view markup edit. Then, as we look a little bit ahead, you can automatically create the drawings. So it's going to be a very interactive, collaborative experience. Okay? I also want to go back to your pricing thing for a minute and then say, you guys should also look at this as kind of a new age SaaS channel model. Okay? So, in terms of how GrabCAD would be...
I'm sorry, let me just repeat that, make sure I understood it. Did you say a new age fast channel model?
Software as a service, SaaS.
Oh, software, okay, SaaS, right. Software as a service, got it.
Channel model where, how, you collaborate, how you partnership with people who have communities as well as who will be able to, sell your tools in the modern online world. So I just want to make that point clear as well.
So you had quite an extensive beta test. I'm wondering, you gave examples of individuals using both the Fusion 360 and Workbench. Are companies using it, and how are they approaching it? And have you got a good response from them with the the IP having to protect certain data? How is that going?
So we have I think what this industry is feeling much more comfortable of having data on a cloud, and that's big part. I think thanks to Autodesk. I think Autodesk have done a really good job in explaining to the industry why it matters, and spend a lot of time doing that. So when you think about the cloud, it's much more secure than FTPs and sending emails around, or even thumb drives. So we get that question a lot with Workbench, and the reality is that we log the data. We can give a user information of who is accessing the files and when. And that gives a user much stronger control over the data, so they can actually know what's going on. And the second thing, what both Autodesk and we do is we take security extremely seriously. And in GrabCAD, we even have a security team here, the ex-Microsoft security guys, and they make sure that the application is really secure. And I believe that Autodesk has a very big security team as well. And so this is who we are. And when we're designing the data interface, security was always the concern. Okay, is that secure enough? So I think what we've seen is that people who are using Workbench today, they do trust it, and they can understand that it is secure, and it's much more secure than emails or Dropbox, where the files are flying around.
Absolutely, so, and I know that Josh and I definitely agree with that as well. But I think on my end, I actually have two issues that I hear a lot from people about cloud storage. One is security, and I think that one's pretty well been solved as it can be. Like you say, it's always going to have problems like everything, but ultimately it's more secure than anything else we have, which is really good. But I think the other issue that we hear a lot from people is just access. When you put something off in the cloud, then you can't use it when you're on an airplane. How do you expect people to deal with that issue?
So this is GrabCAD today for Workbench. GrabCAD is an online tool, and I think we get that a lot. And we need to. What we've done is we have went to a specific use case. because when you're a real CAD engineer, you're using your workstation. You're always you're not carrying your PC to the airplane and the monitor.
Oh,
So,
whoa! So
these
I'm not
guys-
I'm not a real product engineer over here. What's that about? I'm not doing real work because I'm working at airports. Like, come on.
so we need to look into specific use case. And one use case we actually got a lot is people are on the shop floor and they want to talk with the guys really manufacturing, building stuff there. So what we've done is we've and by the way, we think using computers down there is not the most convenient way. So what we've done is we made viewing data, 3D data available on a tablet and mobile device offline. So if you go to a shop floor, maybe the network connection is not that great, you can use it offline. But when it comes to designing stuff offline, like real engineers like you, Adam, in an airport, this is something that we do hear. But we don't hear it that much. So I think today the product doesn't support that. But I know
maybe I'll throw just to play devil's advocate with that argument. I would say you don't hear it that much because your current customers are the ones that don't need it, and so you're not hearing it from them. I think I hear this constantly, and I know it's something that a lot of my colleagues struggle with, the idea of putting things in the cloud where they can't get to them when the internet's down.
So I think the overall approach, and I cannot talk behalf of Autodesk, but what I've seen is Autodesk and GrabCAD have been both in this new era of cloud. There is a shift towards the user, and I think the biggest thing what cloud offers is the power to the user, because the user has the power of choice. They can stop using a tool. If they don't like, they can cancel the subscription. So I think what Autodesk and GrabCAD are both doing is listening to customer, and if that becomes a major blocker, technically it's not that hard thing to solve. So I think this is where we see the opportunities. But Prabhakar, maybe
let me chime in here that. As Hardy pointed out, we're going to be listening to customers very closely and then, reacting. So one of the things I would like to point out is, as you guys know, we have had Fusion 360 on the AutoCAD 360, on the A360, sorry, Autodesk 360, in beta for some time. And yes, to your point, offline or airplane mode, some people call it offline mode. That has come up quite a bit, and that's something we are starting to look at. And then certainly, as we hear more, similarly on the GrabCAD side, we should be able to take action there. To Hardy's point about technically, it's not a difficult problem. It's about focusing on the right problems first, and then listening to customers and making sure that we address it right in the right way. But to your point, Adam, we have on the on the Fusion side, we have heard the need for offline mode, especially for the point you make when they are in, when they're working on an airplane, or especially when they are in a customer site, which is kind of in a lockdown situation and things like that.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I have to ask these questions because these are on people's minds. But by no means does that belittle the accomplishment of what you guys are doing. I think it's amazing. And so what would you say is probably what was maybe the biggest challenge in putting this together? Maybe the thing that you're most proud of having overcome. And then what would you say is on the horizon? Something that maybe you didn't solve yet, but you think you hope to in future versions.
So from our perspective, I think, I'm going to talk a little bit at a higher level and get to a specific thing. From our perspective, I know both Buzz and Paul have talked about being kind of, heterogeneous. We have done that with T-splines, and, when it comes to Rhino, we've done that with HSMWorks when it comes to SolidWorks. So, we wanted to be in communities and user group and places where users actually are designing, and we want to provide our tools. So, the challenge which we had to overcome is because the mindset of people is to work within their little groups, is to reach out and engage with Hardy and his team, and actually build that level of partnership while we have something similar in terms of our experience, the A360 experience. Okay? So because we want to, as Hardy pointed out earlier as well, this is a potentially game-changing thing for the industry and the customers, right? So that was the first one I would say is for us, I believe, to reach out and say, why don't we do this stuff? And then it was so reciprocal from Hardy, and we were able to really work through that. So that was more of a bigger challenge than the technical challenges, I would say. I mean, we have really smart teams working on this stuff. And in terms of looking ahead and things we would like to do a lot, certainly the whole automation with drawings is with AutoCAD 360 drawings is you create a model, you should be able to create drawings automatically, and that part is certainly one. The offline one, which we talked about, as we hear more, we need to act on those things. And then we have to let the customers actually play with this, and then help us set the direction as well. Those are things I would say. Hari?
So from my point, so what I'm really proud is that how well the user flows work, and that's what I'm personally the most proud of is how natural it is to view that 2D drawing inside Workbench, and it's users, even if there wasn't Autodesk branding, the user wouldn't even realize that this is an other company's product running inside GrabCAD, and how well in Fusion or in Workbench you have a SolidWorks file, you click edit, and then it launches Fusion 360. And I think I'm really proud of how good integration actually works in one platform, and it's seamless. So that's something that I think it's a big accomplishment. And the second one is working with Autodesk. From our side, when we started initially talking, we are a startup moving very fast. And we're very worried about this big Autodesk coming and how to work with them. And I had a lot of concerns, but like Autodesk is like a big startup who moves really fast. So I'm also very proud of how well the teams work together and how pleasant it was working with Autodesk. I was blown away by the speed from Autodesk. So this was like on a good side what I'm really super excited about. And what's coming next is that I think in engineers toolbox they have more tools. It's not just 2D and 3D. They have simulation, CAM rendering, and GrabCAD Vision is bring all of these tools that engineers use to Workbench, and really the next big thing. And Autodesk has some greater cloud products like Sim 360, CAM 360 that's coming out, and rendering 360. How can we integrate all these great cloud products inside Workbench? I think that's going to make that collaboration even better. So that's what's coming in the future.
Okay, so Fusion 360 is. Go ahead.
I think one of the key things. I think if you abstract it out, I mean, there's a good vision meld between the two companies.
Yeah, we can definitely see that. So Fusion 360 is actually out today, correct? It just launched today, released today. So where can people interested in that find out more?
It's fusion360.autodesk.com.
There you go. All right, and of course, Workbench is also live over at GrabCAD.
Of course.
Okay, well, great, guys. This is fantastic. Is there anything else that you want to cover that we didn't, or anything that...
The one point I would like to make is that I'm sure you guys have already figured out that this is much bigger in terms of, I mean, as Hardy pointed out, there's not an integration, right? This is much bigger in terms of changing how users will work and giving things in a very different way to the users to be more, creative and innovative. And it's not, just a publish or an integration.
Yeah, it's literally, I will figure out how to show you guys the workflows, but once you see it, you totally understand how different it is. It's really not, it's not published to GrabCAD through our API. It's Fusion and AutoCAD 360 running inside GrabCAD. It's pretty amazing. So I think that's kind of the core. It's much bigger than the announcements we made in the past couple of weeks.
Fantastic. Well, Prabhakar and Hardy, it's so good to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for being with us. This is pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, guys, thanks a lot.
Yes, we are very excited. Thanks.
GrabCAD Workbench users, by the way, can view and edit 2D drawings directly in Workbench today using the AutoCAD 360 integration that they're also announcing, kind of not quite as loudly, but the 3D model editing via Fusion 360 is going to be available in the next couple of weeks.
Yep, coming up, and that's going to be hot, along with some toolbox stuff that Hardy mentioned there also. Keep an eye out for it. Very cool stuff.
Very cool stuff.
A production of EVD Media.